Some nights change you forever. For me, that night was August 21st when I entered the Villisca Axe murder house with my friends. We thought it would be a thrill, a ghost story to tell. But what we found inside was real, and it was terrifying. The energy in that house was so dark, it still haunts my memories. I've investigated many haunted places, but Villisca was different. It was my first encounter with something truly malevolent, something that wanted to hurt us. Before that night, ghosts were just stories. After, they were a chilling reality. This isn't just a ghost story, it's a warning. When you knock on the door of the paranormal, you never know what might answer. My friends and I went in as cocky adventurers and came out as shaken survivors. We didn't just see a ghost, we felt its anger and pain. The echoes of that night have followed me ever since, so listen closely. This is the raw truth of our night in the Villisca Axe murder house. It's the story of how a simple ghost hunt became a desperate fight for our sanity. Some doors are better left unopened. To understand our terror, you need to know the house's past. In 1912, the Moore family and 2 young guests were murdered here. 8 people, all killed in their sleep. The killer was never found. The crime scene was contaminated, suspects questioned, but no one convicted. The house became a legend, a place where evil left a permanent mark. Visitors report hearing children's voices, seeing shadows, feeling cold spots. Objects move, doors slam, and the spirits of the victims are said to linger. This is the energy we walked into. We weren't just entering a house, we were stepping into a crime scene frozen in time, a place where sadness and terror never left. The drive to Villisca was filled with nervous excitement that faded as we neared the house. The small white house looked ordinary, but something about it felt deeply wrong. The windows stared at us like vacant eyes. We grabbed our gear, sleeping bags, flashlights, cameras, and a Ouija board. Every step up the porch felt like crossing into another world. The air grew colder, heavier. I unlocked the door, and darkness spilled out like a living thing. We hesitated, dread replacing our bravado. Liam stepped in first and we followed, crossing from the world of the living into a place claimed by the dead. The door closed behind us. We were trapped. We just didn't know it yet. The moment the door shut, the atmosphere changed. The air was thick, heavy, and the silence was suffocating. We moved through the house, flashlights trembling. In the downstairs bedroom, the grief was overwhelming. Maya, usually skeptical, shivered and whispered, "It feels so sad." Upstairs was worse. The children's room still held old toys and tiny beds. That's when we heard it, a child's giggle from the corner. We froze. There was nothing there, but we all heard it. In the parents' bedroom, the feeling shifted to pure rage. The air crackled with hostility. We set up our base camp downstairs, shaken. The excitement was gone, replaced by fear. We were in their house now, and the spirits made it clear. We were not welcome. Every sound, every shadow felt like a warning. We tried to steady our nerves, but the dread only grew. The house was alive with memories of violence, and we were its latest intruders. As night deepened, the house seemed to breathe around us. The temperature dropped, our breath fogged in the air. Strange sounds echoed, creaks, scratches, whispers. Liam insisted we use the Ouija board. Despite our fear, curiosity won. We sat in a circle, fingertips on the planchette. "Is there anyone here with us?" I asked. Silence. Then, the planchette twitched. It began to move confidently as if guided by an unseen hand. It didn't spell a name, just traced a cross over and over, faster, more frantic. It felt like a warning, not a greeting. The game was over. This was real. The house was responding. We had invited something in, and it was eager to answer. Our fear became very real. The planchette's frantic movement filled the room with menace. A guttural growl rumbled from the darkness. Liam tried to pull away, but our hands felt stuck. The board spelled out, "G-E-T-O-U-T." The air filled with the stench of sulfur. A child's whisper, "He's here!" right behind Chloe. She screamed, breaking the circle. The house turned hostile, possessed by something ancient. Heavy footsteps thundered above us. Cabinet doors slammed in the kitchen. Children's cries echoed, then stopped. A scraping sound began on the stairs like an axe being dragged. The horror of the house was no longer history. It was happening to us. Panic took over as the scraping grew louder, closer. Liam shouted, "Leave us alone!" The noise stopped, then the doorknob rattled violently. Maya screamed, clawing at her back. 3 bloody scratches appeared out of nowhere. The entity could touch us. It could hurt us. We had to escape. As we rushed for the door, a tall, shadowy figure blocked our path. It was darker than the darkness, radiating pure hatred. Chloe fainted. Liam and I dragged her, eyes locked on the shadow man. Maya sobbed, paralyzed by fear. The temperature dropped. Ice crystals formed on the walls. The figure didn't move, but its presence was suffocating. We were prey, cornered by something inhuman. Every instinct screamed that getting closer meant death. We were trapped, desperate, and out of options. The house wanted us to stay, forever. Our only hope was to break free, but the entity was not done with us yet. We had to risk everything to escape. The shadow blocked the front door. We were trapped. Liam hurled a flashlight at it. It passed through like smoke. A guttural laugh echoed, mocking us. That laugh snapped us out of our paralysis. "The back door!" I shouted. We dragged Chloe, stumbled through the kitchen, searching for the exit. Heavy footsteps thundered above, growing angrier. We found the door, but it was stuck. We rammed it until it splintered, bursting into the night. We ran, dragging Chloe, not stopping until we reached the street. We threw our gear and Chloe into the SUV and sped away. I didn't look back, but I felt its eyes on us. We survived, but we were changed forever. Leaving the house didn't end the haunting. Nightmares plagued me for weeks, always trapped, always hunted. Maya's scratches left scars. Days later, I found identical marks on my own arm. Whatever was in that house had followed us. Our friendship fractured under the weight of what we'd experienced. We couldn't talk about it, the trauma was too deep. The thrill was gone, replaced by respect and fear. To this day, the name Villisca chills me. We sought a ghost story and found something far darker. Some places are not meant for the living. If you're ever tempted to visit a place like Villisca, remember our story. Turn around. Walk away. Don't let the haunting follow you home. My dorm room was small, rain tapping at the window. I sat on my bed, textbook ignored, while Liam set a worn Ouija board on the carpet. Chloe watched us, skeptical but curious. Liam grinned. "Ready for some fun?" I sighed, closing my book. "Better than calculus," Chloe shrugged. "It's just a game, Liam." We placed our fingers on the planchette. The room silent except for the rain. Liam whispered, "Is anyone there?" Nothing happened. The silence stretched, heavy and uncomfortable. Suddenly the planchette twitched. Chloe's eyes widened. "That was you, right?" Liam shook his head. "I didn't move it." The planchette slid to yes. My heart raced. The game had begun. The invitation was accepted. We were no longer alone. The rain outside grew louder, as if in warning. In that moment, my ordinary room became something else. The air felt charged, the shadows deeper. The night had truly begun. The planchette rested on yes. The air felt colder. I tried to laugh it off, but my voice shook. "Who's pushing it?" Liam whispered. "Not me," I replied, my heart pounding. I felt a strange vibration under my fingers. Liam asked, "What is your name?" The planchette spelled THEMAN. My amusement vanished. I shivered. "What do you want?" I asked, barely above a whisper. The planchette moved. WATCH, watch. "But watch what?" Liam pulled his hands away. "We should stop," he said. I, now pale, insisted, "Ask where it is." Reluctantly, we placed our fingers back. "Where are you?" Liam asked. The planchette slid to the board's crescent moon corner. It pointed to the darkest corner of our room. The shadows there seemed to thicken. The board's message was clear. Something was with us, watching. The game was no longer a game. Fear settled in, heavy and real. My skepticism faded to dread. My curiosity turned to terror. The room felt smaller, the night endless. The board waited, silent and ominous. All our eyes turned to the corner. The darkness seemed to pulse, thicker than before. I stared, unable to look away. The shadows shifted, forming a tall, faceless silhouette. It bent to fit the space, impossibly tall. Chloe gasped, "Do you see it?" Liam nodded, frozen in terror. I couldn't speak. The figure stood motionless, a silent sentinel. Its presence pressed down on us, suffocating. My skin crawled with cold dread. This was no illusion. We had invited it in. Now it watched us, just as the board had warned. The room, once safe, felt like a cage. The rain outside stopped. Silence took over. Only our frantic breathing filled the air. The tall man remained unmoving. The horror was real. And it was here. We were trapped with it. The night stretched on, heavy with fear. The tall man watched us, patient and still. Panic erupted. I scrambled back, knocking over the Ouija board. Chloe fumbled for the light, her hands shaking. The overhead bulb flickered on, flooding the room. The corner was empty. Just a coat, just shadows. Relief never came. The fear lingered. Chloe whispered, "It was just shadows." But none of us believed it. The room felt tainted, unsafe. Suddenly the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. No one was near it. The window was closed. The door had moved on its own. We stared, hearts pounding. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. The tall man was still with us, unseen but present. The room was a prison now. The sense of being watched returned, stronger than before. Escape was impossible. The game's consequences were real. The night was far from over. The night dragged on. None of us slept. We huddled together, every light blazing, terrified of the dark. Every sound made us flinch. When dawn finally came, it brought little comfort. I stood to get some water, and Maya noticed a dark bruise on my arm. "What's that?" she asked. I stared at my arm. A perfect handprint, 5 long fingers wrapped around my bicep. The mark was cold when I touched it. Chloe whimpered, "He touched you." The tall man wasn't just a shadow. He could reach us. Fear surged back sharper than before. The mark was proof. The haunting was real, and it had only just begun for us. The tall man had claimed us. The terror of the night didn't fade with the sun. We were changed, marked and watched. The horror was now a part of us. Days passed, but the dread stayed with me. My bruise faded, but my fear did not. I avoided the room, haunted by nightmares. Chloe tried to act normal, but Maya saw the fear in my eyes. Chloe whispered to me, "I keep seeing him. In mirrors, behind me." The tall man was everywhere now, not just in our room. The dorm felt cold, and objects moved on their own. Doors creaked open at night. We never spoke of the Ouija board again. I threw it away, but it was too late. The door had been opened. The haunting was quiet, psychological. We were trapped in our own horror story. The tall man became a permanent shadow in my life. I felt a cold draft at my neck as I studied. I didn't turn around. I knew he was there. Watching, waiting. The tall man would never leave. Our lives were changed forever. The invitation could never be taken back. The horror lingered, silent and unseen. Why don't more people talk about what really happens when you play with a Ouija board in the dark? I never believed in demons, just movie monsters, right? I always thought Ouija boards were just party tricks, nothing more. But that night my friends and I found an old Ouija board in a dusty attic. The place felt like it was hiding secrets. We decided to try it, joking to keep things light. The air was thick with nervous energy. We asked, "Is anyone here?" Nothing happened. We started to relax, then the air turned icy. Our breath hung in the air. The planchette began to move on its own. We stared at each other, realizing none of us were moving it. Fear took over. Suddenly the planchette jerked violently. Panic set in. The game was over. Something else was in control. The planchette glided across the board with a chilling sense of purpose, as if guided by invisible hands. Slowly, it spelled out a name. Z-O-Z-O. The letters appeared one by one, deliberate and unhurried, as if the entity wanted us to truly understand who or what we were speaking to. None of us recognized the name, but the moment it was complete, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The air felt charged, thick with a sense of dread, and the energy turned unmistakably predatory, as if something ancient and malevolent had taken notice of us. Shadows began to writhe and twist in the corners, stretching along the faded wallpaper. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, watching us, waiting for something. We tried to end the session, desperate to break whatever connection we'd made, but the planchette refused to move to goodbye. Instead it jerked violently, snapping back to the center with unnatural force. Our hands trembled as fear set in, realizing we were no longer in control. The entity began to taunt us, spelling out secrets it shouldn't possibly know, details about our lives, our families, our deepest fears. It threatened us, and the air grew so heavy and suffocating that it felt hard to breathe, as if the room itself was closing in. In a panic, we broke the circle, flipping the board over in a desperate attempt to sever the connection. Our hearts pounded as we hoped it would be enough. Instantly, the oppressive heaviness lifted, replaced by a fragile sense of relief. But we sat in silence, shaken to our core, each of us haunted by what we just experienced. We tried to rationalize it, searching for explanations, but deep down, we all knew the truth. We had opened a door to something we didn't understand. And just because we closed the board, it didn't mean that door was truly shut. I thought it was over. But Zozo followed me home. At first it was subtle, strange noises, footsteps, nightmares of a faceless shadow at my bed. I became paranoid, always feeling watched. Then my young daughter started waking up screaming, pointing to a dark corner, insisting a man was watching her. Every night the same terror. She described him as a tall, shadowy figure. My skepticism crumbled. This wasn't a typical haunting. Zozo had attached itself to me, and now, to my family. Our home was no longer safe. The haunting escalated. My daughter said the shadow man whispered to her, threatened her. One day, a heavy bookshelf toppled, nearly crushing her. She sobbed, "The man pushed me." That's when I knew this was no ghost. It was something inhuman, violent. Sleep vanished. Whispers, slamming doors, and the shadow figure became constant. I saw it too, a black silhouette absorbing all light, lurking in doorways. Zozo was feeding on our fear, breaking us down. Desperate and terrified, I reached out to anyone who might offer hope. Priests, demonologists, even spiritual healers. Each cleansing brought a fleeting sense of relief, a fragile peace that never lasted. Zozo always returned, more furious and relentless than before. It became a vicious cycle, moments of hope quickly drowned by waves of terror and exhaustion. I felt trapped, my life shrinking around the haunting, every attempt to escape only making it worse. Eventually, I was forced to accept a hard truth. You can't simply get rid of something like this. No ritual or prayer could erase the mark it left on my life. The haunting became a scar, a constant presence that lingered in every shadow and silence. I've learned to live with it, adapting to the fear, carrying it with me like a shadow I can never outrun, but it never truly leaves. The sense of being watched, the chill in the air, the feeling that something is always just out of sight, it's always there. I share this as a warning to anyone who might be tempted. Ouija boards are not toys. They are not harmless games to be played for a thrill or a laugh. They are doors to things we don't understand, gateways to forces that can change your life forever. Some names are better left unspoken. Some doors, once opened, never close again. And some warnings, carved in fear, are meant to be heeded. In the weeks that followed, I tried to reclaim some sense of normalcy. But even as I forced myself back into daily routines, the sense of being watched only grew stronger. It was as if Zozo's presence had seeped into the walls, the floors, the very air I breathed. One night as I brushed my teeth, I caught a flicker of movement in the bathroom mirror, a shadow darting behind me, gone in an instant. I spun around, heart pounding, but nothing was there. The next night it happened again, and again. Each time the shadow grew bolder, lingering just a little longer, almost daring me to acknowledge it. Then, on the seventh night, something changed. As I stared into the mirror, my reflection began to distort. My eyes darkened, my mouth twisting into a grin that wasn't mine. I felt icy fingers trace the back of my neck, and a whisper, low, guttural, unmistakable, echoed from the glass. "You let me in." Paralyzed, I watched as my reflection mouthed words I couldn't hear, the room growing colder, the lights flickering. For a moment I saw something behind me, a shifting, shadowy figure with eyes that glowed like burning coals. I blinked, and it vanished. But the chill remained, burrowing deep into my bones. That night I realized the haunting wasn't just around me, it was inside me. Zozo had found a new way to cross over, using the mirrors as doorways. Every reflection became a window for him to peer through. Or perhaps, one day, to step out from. I started covering every mirror in the house, but deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time. The boundary between our worlds was thinner than I'd ever imagined, and Zozo was waiting, patient and hungry, for his next chance to break through. Days blurred into nights, and the house grew heavier with every breath. Covered mirrors did little to keep Zozo at bay. If anything, the darkness felt more alive, pressing in from every corner. I avoided my own reflection, terrified of what I might see staring back. But denial only fed him. Then, on the eve of the 7th week, my phone buzzed with a single message, a photo of my own bathroom mirror, uncovered, my twisted reflection grinning in the glass. My blood ran cold. I hadn't taken it. My hands shook as I dialed my friend, the one person who still believed me. No answer. A cold wind swept through the hallway, carrying with it a faint, mocking laughter. I felt compelled, drawn toward the bathroom as if invisible strings pulled me forward. The door creaked open on its own, revealing the mirror, uncovered, waiting. I tried to look away, but my gaze was locked. My reflection stood stock still, but its eyes darted, left then right, tracing movements I hadn't made. The grin widened, impossibly, splitting the face in two. Behind the glass the room was darker, deeper, a void swallowing all light. Suddenly my reflection reached out, its hand pressed against the inside of the mirror, fingertips bleeding shadow, beckoning me closer. I stumbled back, but the room warped, spinning, the walls dissolving into inky blackness. The only thing left was the mirror and that grinning face. A voice, no longer a whisper but a roar, thundered in my mind. "Trade places!" I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the void. My body grew numb, my vision faded, and the last thing I saw was my own hand, now inside the mirror, reaching helplessly out. On the other side, my reflection turned, smiled, and walked away, leaving me trapped behind the glass. Now, I watch as Zozo wears my face, living my life, free in my world. And I'm left with only echoes, forever staring out from the cold, silent darkness. If you see a flicker in your mirror, look away. Some doors should never be opened. Some reflections aren't your own.